Thank you so much for sharing your garden with us. And right now, I'm delighted to reintroduce to you Sharon Lovejoy, who's back on Central Texas Gardener. It's been a long time, Sharon, and it's great to have you here.
It is great to be here, Tom.
Well, you have a wonderful new project that you're touring the country in support of right now. It's Toad Cottages and Shooting Stars. This is a book that has loads of tips for families, especially grandparents, about how to engage their kids with a sense of wonder and nature. Where did the inspiration for this come for you?
My own life.
Yeah.
I think that my childhood with my grandmother awakened me so much to nature and to all the miracles and magic going on. And so I've carried that into my life. And for the last 20 years, I've been writing about that.
Yeah. Well, that sense of wonder to me is so important. And too many of our children these days are missing out on it entirely. Their lives are programmed, their parents are busy, they don't trust the outdoors, they don't trust strangers. So sometimes it falls on the shoulders of the grandparents out there, right? These kinds of activities.
It's a good thing, though. I love being a grandparent, and we have a little more disposable time if that's possible. I mean, I still work just as hard, but we seem to be more playful when we're grandparents, and we're able to...
A little more relaxed. You've been through it.
Yes, yes. I do think we're more relaxed and more playful, and it's not just us giving to them, it's a two-way street, because we get so much from our grandchildren. We can introduce them to nature, and they'll see things we don't see, and they'll introduce us to other aspects of it too.
Yeah, well, you're reawakened to that sense of wonder through them, aren't you? Because they see the world in a way that you never...
And they see little bugs crawling along on the ground and worms, and it's wonderful.
Right. Well, the book is divided up into lots of different chapters that are all surrounding activities. This is a very how-to oriented book with lots of practical things that people can use. The first has to do with wildlife and drawing.
My favorite.
Of course. And for so many gardeners, right? That's bringing the birds in and the wild critters. Let's talk about some of the different things that grandparents can do with their kids to bring that sense of wonder in through wildlife.
I think something as simple as putting out a bird bath and a bird feeder I find that children really connect with nature when they see critters. They love to see critters in a garden. They love to see critters along a creek. And I'm not talking rattlesnakes, I'm talking critters, user-friendly critters. And so just something as simple as putting out a bird bath and putting a pair of binoculars or a monocular so children can see what's going on in the garden. Right. Planting sunflowers and things that flourish and attract butterflies and moths and all these simple things. And I did try to make it very activity heavy, but also full of information so that grandparents can seem very intelligent and knowledgeable when they read this and share it with their children.
There you go. And now you have all sorts of little recipes and things to do, and they include using rotten bananas and dishes. Now, how does this factor in for the wildlife?
Well, it's for my secret moth broth.
Moth broth, okay.
Yes. I took a Lepidoptera class with some children in Maine, and we did moth broth, and I was stunned by the number of moths that came to feed on the tree. I have the recipe in the book, and we used crushed bananas, a little bit of beer, brown sugar, and then the kids got to paint fence posts and a tree.
And each other, probably.
They did, but you should have seen the magic that happened.
Well, describe the magic for just a
moment. The magic that happened was that we turned a light on the tree, and the tree was loaded with striped moths, pink moths, rose-colored moths, and they were all feeding. They were dipping out their proboscis and sipping up the moth broth, and their eyes all glowed a different color, such as what I showed in the book, where I have the eye shine. And it was such a neat experience. And then bats came and got the moths. It was just, it was a circle of life. It was wonderful.
Well, it does sound wonderful. And, bringing in the wildlife is an important thing. While we're on the topic of night, though, going out into the garden at night with a flashlight or something like that, it really, I remember some of childhood memories of my own, going into my backyard in New York and just being in awe of it all.
I think so many children are afraid of the dark, so it's really important that we connect them with the dark too, so they're not afraid. A flashlight or one of those headlamps you can get, and they have a red light so that you don't scare things away. And just take them out and watch the star showers. I have a chart of all the star showers.
That's great.
So that the children will see the shooting stars. Look at the different colors of the animals' eyes. It's all explained, so you seem extremely intelligent when you teach them about that.
And it includes little tips on how to make a firefly lantern,
Yes.
which...
That's childhood in a bottle, as far as I'm
well,
concerned.
absolutely. In many ways encapsulates what I remember the best of my childhood being about. So I'm sure that people will take you up on that. Another thing that you focus on is water. And water has a magical calming and soothing and element in the garden, but it also can be a gateway to wonder too.
It is. I spend a lot of time along the creek sides, and to watch my grandchildren learning about the different critters that live in the water is amazing. And that goes from the steelhead trout on down to the tiniest little water strider spider. So I have a whole chapter on that, so children can feel familiar and not be afraid.
Right.
That's the important thing. Don't be afraid of nature. Partake of it.
Right, and celebrate it, and and you never. The beautiful thing about all this, really, Sharon, is that you never know where the kids are going to take it. How it will
They'll
play
lead
out,
us.
play out 50 years later in their lives, where they're standing someplace and they'll remember that moment, right?
They will. It could be triggered by a scent of a night blooming flower. It could be triggered by a sound, but you're giving them a gift that'll last them an entire life.
Right, right. Or sometimes just an afternoon.
That's all that.
And in that, saying that, I turn to the contraption next to you. Which
contraption?
It's a pizza box, obviously,
Yes,
very
it is.
evidently, but it's also a solar oven.
Well, excuse me, but do you have sunshine in Austin? Can you use a solar oven? I've never seen so much sunshine.
Yeah.
It's so simple to make, and it is just a lined pizza box with an acrylic inset and a lid that's cut. We have all the directions in the book, and it'll be shared online, I'm sure. And it's lined with aluminum foil, and it gets up between 250 and 300. So you can do little simple pizzas, and you can do baked apples and things of that nature. And it's a good way for kids to learn about solar power and the circle of life.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely. This oven is a great beginning oven for kids to learn to cook.
Well, and I love the fact that you can make it with them too, which is really wonderful.
And you do have to use hot mitts because it does get hot.
Okay, and then I heard that warning earlier that 250 degrees, 300 degrees is hot.
It goes quickly. You have to put a little thermometer in it, so an oven thermometer.
Well, that's amazing, but I've seen people make s'mores and something like
They
this.
do. I have that recipe because
Okay.
obviously that's one of the best things for kids. So.
Right, right. Now, there's something really cool that you talk about in the book, and these are bale gardens, if you will. And this is something that, again, you illustrate and show people what it's all about. But I love this concept. Describe it for us.
It's so wonderful. I was judging the Northwest Flower and Garden Show, and I went into the community garden, and they had all these straw bales that were thriving with bean teepees, with nasturtium, strawberries, corn, tomatoes. Simply a straw bale that's soaked, thoroughly soaked, so that any little weed seeds can come out. Has to be wheat straw. And then you just gouge out a hole and put in a little potting soil. You can grow so much in these, and they're just portable gardens that you can take apart when you're finished using them and use them to top your beds. It's amazing. I couldn't believe the production that was coming out of these straw bales. We've tested it. It works. It's simple, and it's child size.
And I love the idea of these building block-like
Yes,
things, which are
you can
also
do a
child.
maze.
Yes,
you can do a maze and
right.
plant on the maze.
Yeah.
You can do a playhouse for children. So much. It's not
Right.
just one bale.
Yeah.
Do a city.
Well, the book is filled with tips like this, and you mentioned the playhouse, and that to me, that little hidden place for the kids to be off on their own.
Truly.
That's so important.
I think every child needs a place to be alone and to have thoughts and to play and to talk to himself, and that's what we try to provide.
All right. Well, the folks out in our audience can get all these tips in Toad Cottages and Shooting Stars. And coming up next is our friend Daphne.